I remember opening up this restaurant in our forest where I grew up, and it had my mother's Persian carpet on the floor, and I hanged her paintings on the trees, and there was not a few, like 2 or 3 little tables and things, and I had the locals coming to eat, and it was just, this was my restaurant, and ever since I dreamed of having my own restaurant, and being able to give and to share, and I think that's the main thing about a restaurant, is allowing people to give something to you with so much love and detail.
The south of France,
Côte d'Azur,
the French Riviera, French Riviera, and the Côte d'Azur,
the French Riviera,
the French Riviera,
the French Riviera.
This is young Hendrik. His hair is blonde and his eyes are blue. A green kind of blue. Caribbean, perhaps. They've opened on the French Riviera most mornings for the past decade since he arrived, and decided to open Restaurant Jan in an abandoned motorcycle repair shop that he knew could be much, much more. They fall shut in an apartment on the 3rd floor of a marble staircase building that has survived 300 years in a French city with Italian genes. Nice. Picasso, Matisse, and Chagall have called this city home and walked these same streets, perhaps even had dinner in his apartment before he ever did. On long, balmy weekends, when young Hendrik feels like a holiday goer among the crowds of sunbathers, he wonders where these artists would have chosen to have lunch had they been around today, and what they would have thought about the menu at his now Michelin-starred restaurant. His South African grandmother's recipes, brought to life on the other side of the Atlantic.
Back in France, I always, there's this beautiful thing about Parmigiano. I just like literally do a fresh tomato, Parmigiano, balsamic, and that's what I eat.
Merci à vous, passez une bonne journée.
There was a time when young Hendrik, every day as Nice's noon gun fired, enjoyed a baguette with enough butter to allow for a fresh set of teeth marks to be visible with each bite, like the imprints on a perfectly white, starched and ironed tablecloth left by heavy crystal glassware. Very few things in a region with a history like this one are perfectly white, but the exterior walls of Restaurant Jan's freestanding cheese room right across the road, Maria, comes pretty close. Legend has it that the city keeps issuing fines for Jan Hendrik's interruption of the city's colour palette, and that he simply keeps paying them to keep his dear Maria dressed in the shade of the sweetest French meringue.
It is still a journey. Jan is opened now, going for its 9th year, and I just keep thinking back to the day that I opened the doors, and somehow people just started talking about the restaurant. The French really didn't get what I was doing at the beginning, and that's okay. It wasn't okay for me because I was like in pieces, I was like, oh, and I just stood with my plates. I just didn't move away from it.
The first South African chef ever to achieve the coveted Michelin star.
Chef Hendrik van Westhuizen was officially the first South African to be awarded a prestigious Michelin star.
Michelin star chef Hendrik van Westhuizen.
Jan has a one-star Michelin restaurant in Nice, in the south of France. Genius cook.
The first South African to earn a Michelin star for his restaurant, Chef Hendrik van Westhuizen.
The sky and the sea here are the same blue. Sometimes, Hendrik stares out at the horizon and imagines the ocean is the atmosphere and the sky above is the sea. And it doesn't seem all too strange because it's all still equally blue. He enjoys his favourite lunches in a garden with his simple 3-letter name on a golden plaque at the gate, the Jardin de Jan. Rumour is that Napoleon entertained his lovers in this very garden when he was still just a young sergeant. So much of Jan Hendrik's life here, and the life of the Riviera itself, is built from stories that are too good not to believe. Is there anything more irresistible than near magical serendipity and the stuff of dreams coming true?
Nice is a place where the seasons really takes you through where you want to go. Sometimes it's cool to sit outside on the street having soca and a glass of rosé from a plastic cup, and just literally looking at people. That's my kind of moment for myself.
There's a skylight in his restaurant's kitchen that lets the southern French sunlight in from above the main workspace. On some spring afternoons, when the light is especially warm and gentle, he switches off the kitchen lights to see his work in the same golden light Picasso and Matisse and Chagall must have seen theirs. On other spring afternoons, he sits for hours and hours on little chairs at street-side restaurants, looking for clues to people's lives and daydreams and deepest fears in the clothes they wear, the way they walk, or the food they eat. Although he's lived and made a living here for over a decade, he still feels like a visitor and savours his persisting foreignness as a fine luxury. What a privilege to experience all the comforts of home and the thrills of the unknown at the same series of coordinates. And Hendrik has a journal. Not a personal one, although he has many of those too, but a public one of which he prints thousands of copies to share with anyone who'd care to page through his most recent revelations and discoveries. In the 7th volume of Jan the Journal, it is written that the French Riviera might be the embodiment of the very essence of what it means to be French, insistent on liberty, nurturing in fraternity, and a beacon of equality. Perhaps his journal reads, the nectar for all of those who long to stroll along this Epicurean stretch of coastline that is so passionate, erratic, and deeply flawed, yet irresistible in its imperfections, is something profoundly human to relate to. And maybe it is this feeling of being deeply understood, not the striped umbrellas and Aperol spritzers that makes daily life on the French Riviera feel so much like an eternal holiday. This is Jan Hendrik. His hair is blonde and his eyes are blue. A green kind of blue. Caribbean, perhaps. Tomorrow morning they'll open, as they have since he first arrived with a dream of a life and a restaurant far from a South African farm forest. On the French Riviera.